Okay, we are back. Um, I've been working outside, but I came in to cool off and take a little break. And while I was walking in the door, actually, I was listening to I thought it was the BBC, but it seems to be Times Radio, a little documentary, a news item, not a documentary. They do long format news items that can be like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And they were talking, well, I have it right here. Let's see. I'm trying to turn my phone off. Here was the title from Times Radio, the 16 hours ago. So this is, who knows when they actually recorded it. This may not even be new, but they posted it 16 hours ago. Belief, it's a weird title, so I'll have to, they butchered it a little bit. Belief climate change dangers have been exaggerated increases. So there's a belief. Oh yeah, this is their segment called The Story, and they generally do a pretty good job. It's journalism, right? Belief climate change dangers have been exaggerated increases. So where are they getting that from? Like I said, I didn't listen to The Story. I came in here and I said, all right, I got to deal with this. What I'm dealing with is the very notion that anybody cares at all. To make a statement that belief that the dangers have been exaggerated is an interesting statement. I don't think anybody gives any thought to this. And then to say that that sense of exaggeration has increased, that more people think that, I don't know. It's hard to interpret that. You can talk to people and you can say, "Oh, what do you think about climate change?" And they'll be like, "Climate change? What? Oh, yeah." And you'll hear all kinds of things. I don't think it's real. I mean, it's a danger, but it's not much of a danger. We have bigger problems. It's science. I don't really understand science. Things like that, right? And so, but I don't understand how people can be dealing with this situation in the world and not get the sense that there's a real problem here. The number of heat waves we've been having in the last few years are really off the charts. The number of fires that we're dealing with in really all across, like, for example, Southern Europe, and certainly in the United States. Well, Canada has the biggest fires right now, but even California has a lot of fires right now. And I was even going to do a video on how the fires in California are threatening the giant sequoias. A species is probably going to go extinct. So there's a lot going on in the world that people might even be veering in the direction of, wow, we've got a real problem here. Maybe this is climate change. Maybe this is global heating. Maybe you should take this seriously. And that the idea that there's a problem, or maybe that it's even been underplayed, that should be increasing, right? That sense that there's a problem here that we're not dealing with, that sense ought to be increasing. But apparently it's not. Apparently it's going the other direction. So even though phenomena in the world should be alarming and causing people to think very clearly about this topic, the exact opposite seems to be happening. And I want to say a couple of things here. The first is something I've said in other videos in the past, not recently, but in the past year or so, is that there should be no narrative about how people, Joe Schmo, is concerned about climate change or global heating. There should be no narrative. There should be no discussion that that's the case, because they don't. Most people don't have any working relationship with science. Zero. As a field. I don't mean, they watched a science documentary by David Attenborough or something, and they watched it and they liked it. Most people have no working relationship with the scientific method, ways of data collection, data testing, visualization, how papers are written, how authors collaborate, peer review process, and in this particular topic, the IPCC process, why we have an IPCC process, what they're doing with all the scientific literature, No one has, I'm sorry, no one has any working relationship with any part of that except scientists. And, okay, fine, there's many tens of thousands of climate scientists in the world, or people like me who are climate science adjacent. I'm not really practicing, right? I'm retired. But still, I mean, I can follow it. I get it. I understand the data. I understand what's happening in the world. I can tell you which parts of this shit show are related to climate change and which are not. I can even predict things like I've been doing in my recent series on massive societal change. I think I'm up to episode 9. I stop and I think about what's going to happen to us. It's just going to be massive societal change. And then I do a video on that. This is easy for me to do. I can just sit down and just knock these videos out. Give me an hour of your time and, you're going to get something. Very few people have that kind of relationship with climate science or any science of any kind. They just don't. They have a job. They got their family. They got meals to prepare. The kids aren't doing well in school. One of the kids has got a mental disorder or is acting out, whatever, and the job isn't paying well, and haven't had a vacation in 6 months, and parents are getting older. Yeah, that's what people think about. And I'm not downplaying any of that. I'm not saying that, people are so dumb. No, I would never say that. I would never imply that these are not valid concerns for the average Joe. What I am contending with is this idea that the average Joe, which is virtually everybody, right? 99.9999% of us are the average Joe. And that the average Joe has any relationship with any science, and least of all, at the very bottom of the list of all the sciences you could have a relationship with is climate science. It's not happening. And so when I see headlines like, and I think the last one I saw, it might have even been the BBC, could have even been Times Radio. It was like, do people really care about climate change? And I think that's when I did my last video along these lines. And it was about 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. And now they're out again. And this may even be the same video. They just reposted it, probably. Okay, so here's my reaction again to the same content. It's like, this time it's, belief climate change dangers have been exaggerated increases. So I'm not buying it. I just don't buy it. People don't have that kind of relationship with science. People can't tell you, oh yeah, climate science. Well, the last time I read a paper, it called into doubt the actual, atmospheric forcing from a doubling of CO2. This is really important. Now we need to really look at this. We need more data. We used to think we had this atmospheric forcing thing figured out, but now it's like someone's calling it into question, and so now I have real questions about this. Seriously? The fuck? I just rattled off a bunch of science that would actually be extremely critical if something like that were to happen. And do you think even one person in a million? Do you think even one person in a million has that exact, what I just mentioned, has that exact relationship to climate science? 1 in a million? And do you think that Times Radio or the BBC or MSNBC or anybody else is going to be walking down the sidewalk randomly interviewing people and just happen to get me? And we can talk about, the expected atmospheric forcing of a doubling of CO2. You think they're going to get me? No, they're not. For one thing, I wouldn't talk to them because I don't talk to the media because they're a bunch of assholes. But would they get me if I would talk to them? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. I'm one of 20 people in the entire Bay Area, and there's like 10 million people that live here. I'm like one of 10 or 20 people who can talk about this on that level. And I'm not saying that to elevate myself. I'm saying that to make a point that it's impossible. It's just ridiculous that the news media, Times Radio, any of them can just walk down the sidewalk and just poll the average person and ask them leading questions about their concern regarding climate science and get an informed answer. That's like, well, I think it's been exaggerated. It's just an exaggeration. I mean, I've seen the data, I've seen the science, I've gone to the TED Talks, I've spent I spent 4 hours a week already this week keeping up with climate science, and I have a very well informed opinion that it's exaggerated. You do not. What? This is completely impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Absolutely, completely impossible that conversation can happen on a sidewalk and with a spontaneous microphone in your face. Oh, climate science? Oh, yeah. Yeah, yes, I really have strong opinions about this. And according to the data and the papers I've read recently, and I went to a TED Talk, yeah, I have questions. I think it's exaggerated. And, and I'm looking at James Hansen's work, and some of his points are good, but some of it is, there's some speculation in there. And if you want to go with his speculation, then you can be alarmed, right? You can be really alarmed. He's very alarmed. But when I look at his speculative points, when he's projecting from his models, then I'm like, I'm not convinced. And so I think maybe this is... You think that's the conversation they're having? Do you think that's the conversation that these talking heads are having with Joe Schmo on the sidewalk? Is that it? Is that what's happening? No, it's not. That is not what's happening. That is not what's happening. So what's happening? They're pulling people out of the subway as they're coming up the stairs, and they're busy, and they got to get home, and they're thinking about meal planning, and they have to drop by the corner market to grab some asparagus or something, and that's what they're thinking about. And that's fine. That's life. They're thinking about life. And then you stick a microphone in their face and say, what do you think about climate change? And they'll mutter and mumble something. I don't know. It seems like it's a government hoax. I don't know. It seems okay. Maybe, the seasons change. It's going to get a little warmer, right? That's what I keep hearing. There's some kind of warming thing. It's like global warming. Well, okay, maybe a little bit of warming is not a bad thing, right? And it's like thousands of years off before I have to worry about it. I don't know. I've been to the beach. I don't see any sea level rise. I've been to the beach for the last 30 years, and I don't see any changes. And really, I just don't get it. And then they buy the asparagus, and they go home, right? I mean, that's what you're going to get from Joe Schmo on the sidewalk, and that's perfectly acceptable. That is absolutely acceptable. But this is a topic in science. Right? It's a topic in science. It's not a topic in politics or economics or religion where you can just have your opinion. Oh, I'm going to vote for Labor. Oh, I'm going to vote for the Tories, or I'm going to vote Republican or Democrat, and the Democrats have, better policies. That's a horse race. You can think anything you like, and you can think nothing at all. I don't know who I'm going to vote for. I don't know. I think voting is a waste of time because it's not science. You just have your opinion. And then people jump onto the microphone talking about climate change, and they're just going to handle it like it's politics and economics. They're just going to have an opinion. And so now the media wants you to know that the prevailing direction of the opinion, this is the trend now, is that people think the threat from climate change has been exaggerated. That's exactly the kind of talk you would get from people that actually don't have an informed opinion and cannot have an informed opinion on a topic of science. And again, it's perfectly fine that they don't have an informed opinion. You need a PhD to have an informed opinion on this topic. Yes, that's elitist. No, it's fucking science. What can I say? It takes a PhD to do science. Well, I do science all the time. Yeah, what kind of science? Really? Because everyone thinks they do science. Everyone thinks they understand how the Earth dynamic system works. I listen to climate scientists all the time. And 3/4 of them never, ever, ever talk about the Earth dynamic system. They talk about rainfall amounts and atmospheric forcing with the doubling of CO2. It's like, dude, there's a lot more going on here than that. The amount of interest in what is happening to our planet as a whole, what's happening to us as a consequence, because this is our planet. The amount of interest in that exact topic is practically zero. So why would Joe Schmo be able to even have an opinion? Well, okay, so you can always have an opinion. But why would it count? Why would it matter? It matters because Times Radio, the BBC, MSNBC, CNN, all the others, they are corporations. They need us to not look at this. It was fun. It was fun while it was still borderline fictional. This is important. This is an important distinction. when global heating and climate change was 100 years out, they always talked about the year 2100, the year 2500, when it was hundreds or 100 years out. Then it was fiction. Nobody really knows. So we'll just talk about it. And it's end of the world fiction. It's like biblical apocalyptic fiction. Go read the book of Revelations, and it's like all these things that are happening in the future. And open the 7 seals and the 7 angels and the 7 swords and the plagues and the 4 horsemen. It's all fiction. And it's entertaining and it's doomology, and you have fun with it, but it's fiction. It's not going to happen. It's not happening right now. It's not going to happen soon. It's fiction. It's entertaining, right? It's like vampire stories and werewolf stories and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's all fiction. It doesn't apply. It's not real. It's those goofy science people making shit up again. And so while it was fantasy fiction, and it was titillating and could excite people about the end of the world, which is like an ongoing topic, especially in America, where we're all evangelical rapture Christians. While it was exciting and titillating, it was far enough out. Yeah, I should have turned my phone off. It was far enough out that no one really had to report on it. They didn't have to worry about it. I'm going to turn this ringer off. Good. Should have done that in the first place. But look what's happened in the last few years. I think they started to become the media started, and politicians and corporations. And these are all like the same thing, right? They're just, it's a big circle jerk. Media, corporations, and politicians. It's just a big virtuous circle of mutual back rubbing, to put it nicely. About 2015, about the time of the Paris Climate Accords, they kind of got a wake up. The Paris Climate Accords were absolute milk toast. They were bullshit. And most of the people who weren't politicians looked at it and said, what's all the excitement about this? What is this? A bunch of nations signed on to do nothing? Okay, that's a bunch of nations signing on to do something. But in this case, it's nothing. So why are we excited? And the climate scientists were like, whatever. And everyone else was like, oh my God, this is like the Montreal Protocols. This is like the end of the Cold War. We've saved ourselves from a disaster. And that was when I think politicians and the media started to become maybe a little bit alarmed that they were losing control of the narrative. Why do we have a Paris Climate Accords? Where'd that come from? They kind of lost control of the course of events. Now, the Paris Climate Accords, because they required nothing, it was all recommendations. It was toothless, but it did open the door to things that may come later that are toothy. And also, and this maybe was the most dangerous part, it made climate change into a global concern. It is global climate change. It is global heating. It is global physics. It is the Earth dynamic system. It always was. It always will be. Even the Milankovitch cycles are Earth dynamic system in operation. Okay, it's orbital mechanics, but still, it doesn't matter. And so, but prior to the Paris Climate Accords, all of this sciencey stuff, all this pencil neck, geeky, chrome dome sciencey stuff, Bill Nye, David Suzuki sciencey stuff, was just a hobby? It had no mainstream presence. No one talked about it. It wasn't on the evening news. It wasn't even part of the weather report. You think it would be, right? Our weather today is brought to you by climate change. It was nothing like that. But then when the Paris Climate Accords came along and people started saying, hey, we just signed a big climate document, people were like, a climate document? Wait, well, why? What does that mean? What's climate? What's climate change? Now, we signed a document that was toothless, but it said we are going to do something. Right? We're going to do something. And most people were like, about what? But nevertheless, The meme was, there's a thing, and we're going to do something. And so for most people, that was like, oh, there's a thing, and you've got it handled? Great. I have to go buy asparagus and fix a meal for the family. So it was brought up and dispatched in the same motion. But there it was, right? There it was, floating around out there. And I think that's probably when the media, the corporations, and the governments of the world started to realize they have to get out ahead of this. Now, there have been countless, since then, there have been countless efforts to convince the people that, yes, there's a Paris Climate Accord. No, we're not following any of the guidelines, because we have other concerns like economic growth and jobs growth and GDP. But, even though we're not doing anything that we signed on to do, it being all voluntary, nevertheless, we're taking this seriously just in case anyone ever is watching. Because now it's out there. There's the Paris Climate Accords. People might be watching. Maybe not important, maybe only important people, right? Like banks and financial institutions and, trade organizations. Yeah, okay, they know about the climate accords, and they're watching, kind of in the corner, a little bit anxious. Are you going to do something here? Because we really would rather you not do anything. I mean, doing something would be bad. I know the Paris Climate Accords say you should do something, but doing something even close to that would be really bad. So that's what the noise that we were getting from the corporations and the media and the governments. Then a funny thing happened. A strange thing happened. And the word for that funny thing that just came out of nowhere is called physics. Global climate change is not our problem. Our problem is global heating. And heating is physics. And physics doesn't lie. And physics doesn't stop. Physics never goes away. Okay? So maybe you could whiffle on climate change and climate change goals and climate change action and climate change legislation. You just kind of whiff on that and say, yeah, we don't really know what that means, but we're going to do something. We're going to encourage the installation of solar panels. That's climate action, right? Not really, but that's what they'll say. Okay, install solar, buy something. Buy solar panels, right? Buy an EV. Buy energy efficient light bulbs, LED light bulbs, right? Consume, but just consume differently, and that will help us meet our Paris climate goals, because we don't really have any Paris climate goals. We just don't. It's all voluntary, and if it's voluntary, then you just don't have a goal. And maybe you have an aspirational goal, like this would be nice, but you're setting your own goals, and most of the time your goal is to not do anything. That applies to everybody. Everyone just wants the least amount of effort for anything that they aspire to, because it's all aspirational. That twice a week to the gym that we all aspire to, right? That cutting meat out of your diet for more days out of the week. It never happens, right? So, but we have aspirational goals, right? It's good to have aspirational goals. I'm a better person if I aspire, right, to do the right thing. If I aspire to do the right thing, well, that's better than not aspiring to do the right thing. So the nations of the world aspired, well, there you go, to do the right thing for the climate, whatever that is. And they did nothing, but that's okay. They had aspirations, so come on, give me some slack. Give me some slack here, because I had an aspirational goal. And so, but physics shows up. And what physics is telling you is, yeah, about your aspirations. It's like when you didn't go to the gym and you kept eating the fatty foods and the fast foods, and you put on an extra 40 pounds, and then you had your first heart attack, right? Physics, basically, of the body. Carrying out all that extra weight, pretty soon your knees are hurting. Now you're looking at knee surgery. Physics, right? Body gave out. Couldn't handle the weight. Couldn't handle the cholesterol. Couldn't handle the protein byproducts that ended up in your joints. It gave you gout. Okay, physics shows up and says, yeah, all your aspirational goals that you didn't do anything about, well, here's some physics for you, because there's a reason why you had these goals. You didn't think about it, but there really was a reason. It was called physics. You're going to be sick. You're going to die. You're going to die painfully. You're not going to live as long as your grandparents lived. You're not going to live as long as your own parents lived. Okay, you're going to die miserably and, under the knife and constant surgery trying to fix the problems that you could have fixed. That's what happens when you have aspirational goals and you never follow them up. So, as regards the Earth dynamic system, up jumps physics. Not in the year 2100, not in the year 2050, not even in the year 2040. Last year, physics pops up, sets everything on fucking fire. Heat waves everywhere, torrential rains everywhere. Sometimes heat waves followed immediately by torrential rains, followed immediately by another set of heat waves. That's how it's been in the U.S. People are noticing that. People are noticing that. I don't expect them to put two and two together because, it's all science. So what do you expect from people regarding science? You better reduce your expectations because you're not going to get anything from people regarding science. People are in denial about science. Science is a hoax. Science is a business model, whatever. Which it kind of is. Physics doesn't care. So now, Times Radio runs out their little article. Oh, people think that climate change threats are actually exaggerated. Oh, really? Now, that's pretty convenient. When people are being burned out of their communities, not homes, entire communities, even entire regions. People, hundreds of thousands of people are being driven out of their regions, ending up who knows where. Now, if you were to go to those places and talk to those people and say, so, what do you think about global heating? I've never heard of it before. What is it? It means the Earth's getting hotter. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. There's actually a name for that? The Earth is getting hotter? Oh, yeah, fuck yeah. First, all our crops failed, then the reservoirs dried up, and then the plants all died, and then everything caught on fire, and our entire community is now, we're scattered. We don't even have our community anymore. You're calling that global heating? You're attributing all that to global heating? Well, then fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. We've got some of that. What's it called again? Global heating? Yeah, we got that. Absolutely. So if you went to these people and asked them, oh, so what do you think about global heating? You might have to still explain it to them, okay? Because they're not thinking globally. They're thinking, Ermagerd, my zip code, or whatever the equivalent is, just went up in flames. You have to explain what global heating is. Yeah, it's not just you. It's not just you. Other parts of the world are having exactly the same phenomenon. And by the way, other parts of the world that aren't burning are being flooded. And their crops are being destroyed by hail and by torrential rains. And their villages that have been there for 300 years are being washed into the sea by torrential rains and other types of water mismanagement caused by torrential rains. And yeah, that's a thing. And so it's theoretically possible, because of physics, that people are becoming alarmed, that people have noticed that this is actually now a threat in the way that the Paris Climate Accords was not, because the Paris Climate Accords in 2015 were voluntary. And every nation on Earth signed the Paris Climate Accords, even the US, even Russia, even China, because it didn't do anything except make you look good, that you cared about this topic enough to sign a document. I mean, that was it. Not enough to go back to your country and tell your countrymen, okay, we've just signed on to the following things. You have to do this, 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 and this. It wasn't that kind of a signing. It was like Paris Climate Accords. We have these aspirational goals to protect humanity from any impacts from global heating, which no one understands. And they said, sure, I'll sign. Do I have to do anything? No? Oh, okay, I'll sign this. And they all signed it. Big high fives all around, holding hands, pictures, opportunities. And then physics came along. That changes everything, doesn't it? Now, what physics is telling these people, these global leaders, many of which are not even in politics anymore, what physics is telling these people is, it was always science. It wasn't politics. I mean, you're politicians, you're economists, you're going to make it into politics. You're going to make it into economics because that's the only language you can speak. You want to do monkey business, right? It's a bunch of chimps chimping out about politics and money and influence and profits and capitalism and other isms and the GDP and economic growth. You're going to chimp out about all that shit that you made up. Meanwhile, physics is coming along and saying, let's see, what can I fuck with now? I'm going to set a fire here. I'm going to set 10 fires over there. I'm going to burn this village down completely, and I'll burn the city down completely. And then I'm going to burn the people that are in these cities. And then I'm going to burn all the crops, and then I'm going to burn all the orchards. And now what can I set on fire? I'm going to go over here and set fire to something else. And then when I'm done doing that, I got a big rain cloud coming in. It's going to dump water everywhere, and because everything burned, there's no way to stop the rain from eroding the ground and washing everything out to sea. So let's have some of that, and then we get to see the cars floating down the middle of the street, and we get to see the houses full of water up to the second floor, and that's cool, right? So this is physics now. This is physics doing what physics does, which is fuck with things. So now, fast forward from 2015, 10 years, and they signed all these documents and they brought all this to the forefront. Now they have to start saying, oh, well, no one really believes this. Actually, it's not a problem. Whatever you've heard in the news or even saw in your neighborhood or your community, yeah, that's not global. That's just, well, weather, right? And people who, ever gave a half a second of thought to any of this? Probably not. But those people that we can catch coming out of the subway and put a microphone in their face for a 5-second answer, those people, according to us, what they're saying is that it's exaggerated. It's not a problem. Now, is Times Radio making that up? Let's analyze that. All around the world, nations are pretending that none of this is happening. They're defunding science. They're hiding data. They're firing scientists. They're defunding universities that do, of course, just basic research and also teaching. So they're kind of defunding the next generation of scientists. And this is mostly happening in the U.S., but I can promise you it's happening elsewhere as well, because now it's here. Now it's here. And the thing they signed on for 10 years ago, which was supposed to address this and maybe even forestall this, right? That was the aspirational goal. They didn't do anything in that list of goals. And so now it's here. And so they have to pretend, first of all, that it's not here. This is not happening. Then they have to pretend, and anybody who thinks there's something here to look at, they think it's exaggerated. And third, people don't care. They'd rather think about all their daily activities of life. And then fourth, it's really a hoax. It's nothing to it. And the less said about it, the better. And this is what they're going to trot out now. They have to do this. They have to do this. They have to do it now. Not in 2015. 10 years further on, physics has arrived. And you need to understand that. That's the truth. Physics has arrived. Most people won't know that because most people have no relationship with physics either. Not science and not physics. People have no relationship with the physical world of phenomena. None whatsoever. No relationship. No working relationship at all. They just go through their lives and they go to work and they get paid and they come home and they watch TV, and that's perfectly fine. I don't expect anything else from people. But now physics has ridden into town. Physics has arrived. And that's not going to work. That's not going to work. You can't just pretend that's not happening, because it is. This shit's going down, baby. It's going down. It's happening. We have spent the last 70 years denying that any of this could happen. We spent the last 10 years pretending that we signed a document that's going to make it all go away. Now that it's happening, it's not in the future, not 2100, not 2050, not 2040, not even 2030. Right now that it's happening, and people might be looking around like, what is this? What were they saying about climate change? Was that is this some of that? But didn't we sign the Paris Accords of some kind? I mean, Donald Trump took us out of the Paris Climate Accords twice, but so that was about this, right? So why are we not in the Paris Climate Accords? Are we going to deal with this? That's the questions people are actually asking, if they're asking anything at all, which they're probably not. But that's the kind of questions they are asking. What is going on? Why is this happening? Why are these floods happening? Why are all these fires happening? Why can't I breathe the air? What's been going on for the last several years? It's fires every single year in the places that burn. Every year it's the same story. Entire villages burned up. Whole villages worth of people displaced. And what's going on? What is this? Is this climate change? Is this what we were supposed to be dealing with? Did we deal with it? Because if we did deal with it, then this shouldn't be happening. So what happened? Did nothing happen? These are the questions that are going to start to happen now. People are going to start asking these questions. Why didn't anyone tell me? Why wasn't I informed? Why wasn't I consulted? If you're setting priorities, then you should have been setting priorities about this thing that just destroyed my community, or that just knocked down all the houses on my side of the street. Right? They brought the river up and flooded all these low-lying areas. Why were we building here? Why did we build down here this close to the river? Did no one ever think that this could happen? Oh, it's never happened before? Yeah, but aren't we supposed to be getting climate change now? So maybe this is now a regular thing? Could this happen regularly? And and people are possibly starting to ask questions. So now the Times Radio trots out their research. I don't know what they did. I don't really care how they did it. Could have made the whole thing up, right? Could have talked to 5 people coming out of the subway at the end of the day. And now they're saying, oh, well, people think it's exaggerated. It's exaggerated now. We can't say it's a hoax anymore because physics has come to town. Thank you. So we can't say it's a hoax. Can't say it's a hoax. Okay, fine. Can't do that. The hoax thing, okay, that's out. That's out the window. What else can we do? Oh, we can pretend that no one cares. Yes, it's real, but nobody cares. Oh, come on. We've all got insurance. We're the developed world. We can handle this. The governments will do something. This is why we pay taxes, right? We pay taxes they'll figure it out. Come on. And besides which, we'll innovate. And I'll add solar panels if I have to. I probably won't, but somebody will, right? The neighbors will. That'll help. And, it'll be fine. I mean, honestly, what do you expect us to do? I got a family to feed. I got a job. I'm looking forward to my next vacation in six months. That's what I can focus on. I can't focus on this stuff. Just fix it, right? Just fix it. Make it go away. And all right, I guess that's where we're at. Make it go away. Make it stop. Stop doing science. That's the level we're at. Oh, we have some science that says there's global heating. Then why are we doing science? And you think, oh, well, if there's science that says there's global heating, maybe we should do more science. No. Why do we have scientists looking at this? They're just causing trouble. Why are we spending money to get bad news? And most people would say that. So if we just didn't look at this, it would go away, right? I mean, they have no working relationship with reality. Because physics doesn't go away just because you're not looking at it. You can think that. What is it? The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? The ravenous bug bladder beast of Thrall. It's actually really stupid, because if you put a towel over your head, and this is the shtick from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? If you put a towel over your head so that you can't see it, then it thinks it can't see you. So that's Douglas Adams being a savage about people. That, if you can't see it, then it's not there. And it can't hurt you because you can't see it. You can think that. You can think that way if you want to. But physics actually doesn't operate like that. Physics doesn't operate like that. You can jump out of an airplane not wearing a parachute on the advice of somebody who said, oh yeah, this is a lot of fun. But just because you think it's going to be a lot of fun doesn't mean the physics is going to step aside and say, oh yeah, if you think it's fun, go ahead, fly like a bird. I understand you didn't go to school and learn any physics. You didn't hear about gravity and Newton's law. Fine. Then I'll give you a pass. Go ahead and jump out of the airplane and something nice will happen. And you'll have a lot of fun just like the guy said, because we'll give you a pass because you didn't study Newton's laws. Okay? And you think that's how it is? It's like the bug bladder beast of thrall. You think it's like that? If you just don't look, it's not there. See, that's how it's going to be. Because that was a joke. That was a funny part of the book. The book is full of funny shit, and that was a joke. That if you just don't look, it won't be there. That's not how the world works. That was meant to be funny. That was poking fun at people who think that way, and even if they never thought about thinking that way, they act that way without thought that if you don't look at it, it will go away. That's a joke, folks. That's meant to be funny, because that is not how any of this shit works. And yet, here we are. Here we are. Headlines are, people think it's exaggerated. Really? Go ask the Greeks, go ask the Spanish and the Portuguese and the people living in the south of France, and go ask the Italians, and go ask the Turks if this is all made up and fake and it's exaggerated. Go ask them. They're dealing with some nasty shit. They're dealing with near-term extinction, extirpation, as we call it. Regional extinction is extirpation, so we'll just use the right word. Sciencey words. Sorry. Yeah, we're doing some science here on this channel, people. Science. We're doing science. Local extinction is called extirpation. That's a word you need to know. You need to learn some words, okay? Because they're going to start applying to you and your neighborhood and your friends and your family. They're going to have their asses extirpated. And of course, if you get too much extirpation, you graduate, you level up to extinction. Will people save themselves from global heating? No. Will the governments help people save themselves from global heating? Never. Will people know that global heating is what's killing them when it burns down their communities and floods their communities and destroys their crops and their supply chains? Will they ever know that was global heating? No, they won't. They won't. And if you ask them, what about global heating? They're going to give you answers like, excuse me, I'm not in the mood for that. All the houses on my side of the street just burned down. What are you talking to me about what's global heating? Was that science or something? Go talk to David Attenborough about global heating. Okay, I'm busy. I have a house to rebuild. I'm still trying to find my dog. Okay, and don't talk to me right now. And that's how it's going to be. They'll never know. People will never know. They'll never know. They'll never know. And how do I feel about that? Meh. How am I supposed to feel about that? Huh. Good question. Let me think about that a minute. How do I feel about that? How should I feel? I'm on here on YouTube, having feelings, talking to someone out there in the void, saying you're being tooled. Okay. It started with the Paris Climate Accords, which was a bunch of do nothing, and you've been tooled ever since. And now that physics has ridden into town and setting fire to everything and knocking shit over and seeing what else it can do, you're being lied to. Oh yeah. Oh boy. Here it comes. Here comes the propaganda. I can say that. I can stand here. I can sit here. I can say that on my own channel. I can say what I want to say on my own channel. Does anybody care? No. Does any of this help anyone think clearly about any of this topic? No. Will they still continue to think that global heating and climate change are the threats are exaggerated? No, they won't think that they're exaggerated. They won't think about them at all. Not even to the tune of, oh yes, I know all about global heating and climate change, and I think it's exaggerated. They won't. No, they won't. They won't. I don't know where the Times Radio got that answer. People think it's exaggerated. Maybe they were talking to some politician, right? My constituents tell me that climate change is exaggerated. You lying sack of shit. You lying motherfucker. You didn't talk to anybody. You didn't talk to one person about this. Okay, maybe you talked to an oil company executive or lobbyist. Okay, you talked to some lobbyist from the oil company while he was handing you a suitcase full of money, and he told you, actually, the problem is exaggerated. So that's who you heard from. You heard from the oil company lobbyist who was handing you a suitcase full of Benjamins, and after that, when you talk to the BBC about the nature of the problem, then you're going to say, let's see, what was I told to say? Oh yes, that's right, it's exaggerated. And you're thinking about those $50 bills that you got in a suitcase, because that's how politics works. So will people ever turn the corner? Nope, they will not. Do they think it's all exaggerated? They don't have any thoughts at all of any kind. Is it going to stop and go away just because they close their eyes and can't see it? No. Will they know that global heating and climate change destroyed them, killed their family, killed their crops, killed their animals, destroyed their village? Nope. They'll never know. They'll never know. No one's ever going to tell them. No one's ever going to warn them. They'll just never know. That's it. That's the answer. That's the answer everybody wants. It's what I call the three little monkeys, right? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Close your eyes. It just goes away. It's exaggerated. How do I feel about that? Good question. Good question. I'm more interested these days in how people respond to things than the actual science. The science is in. Those of us who care and pay attention know the science. People who don't care, don't pay attention, and never will, don't know the science. That's fine. That's perfectly acceptable. I don't have any problem with that. I don't expect people to know the science. Not necessary. Scientists need to know the science, and scientists need to help policymakers write policy and help guide people through this coming apocalyptic event called global heating, which is going to last 100 years. So, yeah, we need to really start thinking about how to navigate this for 100 years. Can we? Is there any way to wrap your head around that kind of long-term thinking? Or even 10 years? We can't even do a year. We can't even do a year on any topic, the least of all science. So will we? How do I feel about that? Well, I can't have any feelings, can I? I can't have any feelings about it. It's real. Gravity is real. People want to jump out of airplanes without a parachute, thinking the gravity will let them, just have a nice time because they don't understand Newtonian physics. They can just have a nice time because they don't understand, laws of gravity. They'll just jump out of the plane and they'll just have a nice time, whatever that means. They'll fly, they'll float, they'll sink gently. I don't even know what people think if they don't believe in gravity and they jump out of an airplane without a parachute. What are they thinking will happen? Because what's going to happen is you're going to plummet to the ground, you're going to die. That's what's going to happen. And if people don't know anything about global heating and they don't care and they think it's exaggerated and it's science and I don't really follow it and I think it's a government conspiracy to get more taxes or something like that, and it's just they're just trying to take away our rights and make us do things we don't want to do, and I don't want to buy an electric car, and I don't want to fund mass transit, and I don't want to I want my own thing, I want it my way, I want to have no restrictions, and I don't want to feel bad about anything. Don't tell me I'm doing it wrong, don't tell me I could do it differently. I don't want to hear it. Just shut up, leave me alone. It's all exaggerated. If that's how people want to be, how am I supposed to think about that? Okay. I'm not even going to tell you it's wrong. I'm not even going to tell you it's probably suicidal. I have no real feelings about it. I really don't. I'm an observer. I'm here to watch. I'm here to watch. And while I'm here watching, I'll have my monologue. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. I'm here to watch. And this is what I'm seeing. This is what you people are doing. Good luck. My book is out. I talked about it last night. Didn't say much. It's a book. You're supposed to read it, right? Anyway, it's out. I'm really happy with it, the way it turned out. I mean, the way it was constructed. I'm happy with the way I wrote it as well. Thinking about maybe a follow-up, possibly. I've done a series of things on here that I'm titling Massive Societal Change. It's almost looking like chapters in a book, right? I'm up to episode 9, so possibly I could abstract some of that material and put it in writing. Maybe Massive Societal Change. I could do a video about that. I could do a video that we can get meta here. I could do a video called Massive Societal Change and make that part of the series called Massive Societal Change. See what I just did there? Because there's something weird that happens with physics. Massive societal change is not a hippie thing. You're not going to be guilted into this. You're not going to be convinced by Mother Teresa that this is what you're supposed to do, okay? Massive societal change is never something anybody signs up for. You can't guilt people into doing it. You can't even bribe people into doing it. They'll always go their own direction. Massive societal change happens because of physics. Oh yeah. Talk to the Mesopotamians about your massive societal change. Talk to the Romans at the end of the Roman Empire. They got some massive societal change. Just talk about that. What happened there? Limits. So maybe I'll do a video on massive societal change, and I'll call it Massive Societal Change Episode 10. Right? That works out, right? The 10th video might even end the series. What is massive societal change? Why does it happen? How's it going to happen to you? What's it going to feel like? Where are you going to go with that? We'll see. I might just do that. That could be fun. Fun. None of this is fun. It could be savage. And that's fun. I say with a laugh. Oh, it could be savage. Yeah. Now I'm happy. Now I'm enjoying myself. I could be an absolute fucking savage talking about massive societal change. Now you're going to get you some. Yeah, we'll do that. Let's just do that, shall we? That's what I got for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The channel's actually growing a little bit. Great. Good for you people that are showing up. And I hope I'm offering compelling content and you keep coming back. And hey, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. And someday people will turn the corner and we'll all look back and we'll say, well, we turned the corner. Finally. After 4,000 Cougar W videos, people finally turned the corner. Did I contribute to any of that? Maybe. Maybe that's why I'm here. Maybe that's why I'm doing this. Like and subscribe. Buy the book. Or go to Amazon and read the preview. It's free. Do it. You'll be happy that you did it. And if you don't do any of those things, and you don't buy me a coffee, and you never come back, my real advice is, whatever happens, don't die. Bad move.